people's head, man. I can't help people get irritated about it. It's not my fault. I go out there, I try to be the best defender on this fucking planet. Consistently, in and out, day and out. I take my role, take my job very seriously, and I do it for my teammates. I understand my role, and I understand how to get stops, and KD's not easy cover, but it's fun out there for sure.
Hey guys, Sam here, and welcome to the timeline of Phoenix Suns channel. Today we're going to be talking about the best defender on the fucking planet, Patrick Beverley. Let's dive in. Unlike the past couple of videos, if you're an NBA fan, then you've probably already seen a good amount of Pat Bev doing his thing on various playoff teams in Houston and LA. Now, a two-time all-defensive team selection, we all know that the reason you bring Pat Bev on your team is for defense. And that's not just because of basic stuff like steal and block numbers. In fact, Beverley averaged a career-low 1.1 steals per 36 this season, placing him pretty far behind the other point guards we've looked at so far in Darren Collison and Tyus Jones. It's not the interceptions that make Beverley so good at defense, but rather the grit and tenacity that the Suns haven't had in a player since PJ Tucker. This is a guy who won't back down from any challenge, even if his defensive assignment has 10 inches of height on him. He never breaks out of his defensive stance on the perimeter, he fights through screens harder than just about any point guard in the league, and he routinely swallows up drives of opposing players, whether in the half court or in transition. If you're the type of person that likes to have stats to back up the eye test, know that Beverley's hustle is not going unnoticed by advanced metrics. The Clippers this season were 5.7 points per 100 possessions better with Beverley on the floor, giving him the second highest impact of any player logging major minutes on that roster after Lou Williams. For the Suns specifically, this move also makes a lot of sense if you want Pat Bev to train one of the young point guards on this roster, that guard being DeAnthony Melton. A lot of Suns fans have made the comparison of Melton to Beverley in the past, given Melton's defense-first attitude, and who better to train him for a long and successful career as a ball hawk than one of the NBA's premier perimeter enforcers. Now, we should talk about offense as well. If it weren't for Pat Bev's consistent spot-up shooting, he would basically be a dime a dozen journeyman in the NBA. Players like Shaq Harrison come to mind who are tremendous, gritty defenders, but who just don't have a single offensive skill to fall back on. Pat Bev at least has that shooting. He finished in the 83rd percentile in the league on spot-up efficiency, knocking down 41% of his catch-and-shoot threes. He also shot 46% from the corner, so this is definitely a guy who's going to help the spacing. However, the rest of his offense is kind of non-existent. It probably shouldn't surprise you that a former Houston Rocket has absolutely no mid-range game, but here's the real concern to me beyond that. You can often tell when an NBA guard is right on the verge of a steep decline when their driving ability starts to vanish. I'll give you a recent example. When Tony Parker was in his prime, he shot 70% at the rim and made a career out of slicing up defenses and finishing in the paint. Then suddenly one season, basically as soon as he was on the wrong side of 30, his finishing numbers dropped, at first by not that much, into the low 60s. Then they plummeted even more the season after that, and within just a couple of years, Parker was a shell of his former self. To bring this back to Pat Bev, who was never a good finisher to begin with, he just shot a career-low 49% at the rim. He shot 40% on drives, which is right at the bottom of the league, alongside Josh Jackson. In other words, it doesn't bother me if Beverley has no off-the-bounce mid-range moves, but it does scare me if he can no longer finish plays at a true NBA level, because that could be an indication that the athleticism that makes his defense so good is starting to fade. This is just my 2 cents, but I don't get the impression that a player like Pat Bev is necessarily built to last deep into his 30s. As a playmaker, Beverley will make smart reads, rarely turning the ball over, but he's also more than happy to defer to a true offensive star, meaning we'd see a lot more of point book, with Beverley spotting up on the wing. Overall, this signing would have a tremendous impact on rebooting the Suns' culture, which is something that James Jones seems to want to focus on. There's no doubt that Pat Bev would be an instant fan favorite for his hustle, and he'd also be able to mask many of Devin Booker's defensive mistakes. There's also no clear indication that he actually wants to leave the Clippers. He's gone on record saying that Lou Williams is his favorite teammate ever, and the Clippers are already a much better team than Phoenix. But this could also be his last chance to really secure the bag as an NBA free agent, so if some team offers him upwards of $10 million per year, he might just be hard-pressed to say no. Let us know in the comments if you think the Suns should be that team. Thanks guys, make sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter @TheTimelinePod. You know the drill. We'll be back soon.